Watching CT Live on NBC Connecticut.
Welcome back to CT Live. I know ticks, they may be tiny, but the diseases they can carry have a really big impact on your health. So knowing how to prevent bites, check for ticks, remove them safely, and what to do next can make all of the difference. And joining us now from Quinnipiac Valley Health District, our Director of Health and CEO, Luis Pantoja, and Production Assistant Peyton Einhorn with what you guys need to know. So guys, let's start right there. What do we need to know about this?
Well, ticks are vectors, and they carry vector-borne diseases, which are basically any illness that can be transmitted to humans through an infectious organism. Those organisms can be vectors, typically ticks or mosquitoes, and they tend to carry pathogens, which can be bacteria, viruses, parasites, that can cause these diseases in humans.
Okay, got it. So it is something to be concerned about, right, Luis?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that, you know, the vector-borne diseases is a very general category.
Yeah.
I think in Connecticut, we're going to focus more on tick-borne diseases, and especially the Ixodes scapularis, which is the black-legged deer tick that most people interface with when they go outside.
Okay, yeah, we're all familiar with those. We've seen them maybe on ourselves, maybe on our pets. So I understand there's a little bit of a difference, but when we do, we're outside, we're having a great time, we come back in. What's the best way to protect ourselves?
Well, I would say before you even come back inside, there's a lot you can do when you go outside to protect yourself.
Tell me more. Okay, I love this.
So you could wear tick repellent if you know that you're going to be hiking or anywhere with some tall grass, wearing high socks, long pants. That could help just decrease your exposure.
Okay.
And then once you come back inside, it's important to check yourself. Look for areas with, you know, thinner skin, like behind your ears, your ankles. And also check your pets too.
Yeah, check your pets. That's one of my biggest things. I always check my dog because she's a doodle, lots of fur. Like they always somehow get in there, but we can protect ourselves too.
Absolutely.
If we do find a tick on ourselves or our pet, what's the next step?
So I would say, so the important part to understand is that these are very, very small organisms, and the longer they stay on you, the more pathogens they can transmit. So for the black-legged deer tick, they can transmit 2 types of bacteria, a parasite and a virus. And not all the signs are, most people are used to the erythema migrans or that bullseye rash that you usually get.
Okay, yeah.
But most people actually don't develop that. So you get primary Lyme, which is localized, disseminated Lyme in the next weeks or months, and that's more affecting the heart and the lungs and the kidneys. And then you could actually get tertiary Lyme, and that actually affects the CNS system or the brain.
Let's talk a little bit about, you know, if God forbid we do find one on ourselves or our pet, how do we monitor that? And how are we testing that to make sure we're still healthy?
Well, like you're saying, there's a lot of symptoms that could come up, and it depends on the pathogen. So a lot of people might experience fever or headache, but like you were saying with the rash, not everyone will get that. So it's important to talk to your doctor, know what your symptoms are, because they might not always be what you're expecting. And you could also test the tick once you have removed it. And even if a tick is tested and it shows positive for a certain pathogen, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was transmitted to you. So it's important to monitor your own symptoms.
So we at Local Health, we always say when you come indoors, make sure that do a quick tick check. So, you know, check your limbs and make sure that you look at for particular places that ticks can hide. When you actually get it, the tick embeds itself, and the proboscis or the mouthpiece is what actually goes in. People, I think, are often tempted of just grabbing that tick and then pulling it off. You don't want to do that. If you squeeze the tick, you're actually pushing the saliva and all the pathogens into you, so you're inoculating yourself or infecting yourself. So the best way to do it is grab a tweezer and make sure that you grab that mouthpiece, and then you pull gently until you pop it off, and then make sure that there's nothing left behind in the skin.
There is no season for ticks, right? Just because it's warm out in the summer months and you might be outside more doesn't mean that the rest of the year you aren't just as vulnerable, right?
So the same precautions can be taken throughout the year, but because we're outside more, that's when we find them more in the summertime.
We're not supposed to be part of this life cycle. It's supposed to be from the tick to the mouse, and then from the tick to the deer. But because we go outside, we interrupt that life cycle, so now we get right in the way and we get infected.
The knowledge that you guys are giving us is amazing. Luis, Peyton, Quinnipiac Valley Health District. Guys, thank you so much for keeping us healthy and safe.
Thank you.